Hi, I want to talk to you about a little counseling minute tonight. I think it's so important that we look at, how we really are as people. A lot of times we hide our true self, meaning how we really are, because of events that happened in our life. Maybe we've been abused by someone. Maybe we're afraid about what people might think. Maybe we come from a controlling family. So we don't let our true self show. So what we do is we invent a phony self where it's based on what people expect us to be like. So we invent a different personality or a different persona, and the real true self just kind of gets put away like in this imaginary bag. So over time, you carry all this baggage of all these things of what people said and all the hurt and anger. Sometimes people get like this a lot of times is when they feel abandoned too, or where people made fun of them a lot, or maybe they had something traumatic happen to them in their childhood, or just maybe they were around a lot of people that really gave them a hard time and teased them a lot, put them down. Maybe they had parents that never really listened to them when they were talking to them. They just yelled at them all the time and put them down, made them feel self-worth, or had brothers and sisters that did the same thing to them. So that's why that real self got put away. So they come up with this phony self, kind of so they can look fake self, so they not phony but fake, to cover up the real self, the true self. The problem is it works good for a while, but after a while that real self is going to want to try to re-emerge itself, because it's a struggle from the phony or fake self that you portray that everybody sees on the outside, but the real self never gets through. Well, what I do is challenge you, boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, to come out of the closet and be the real self who you really are. A book was written about how we hide behind masks. What it's talking about, a lot of us do hide who we really are because we put on another persona to project to others so that people will be approved, so we'll be approved by others and be accepted. What I'm saying is that they can't accept you for the way you are. Girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need them as a friend. You don't even need to be around them as people. Just be the person who God made you to truly be and show your true self, because when you get older, you're going to have bouts of depression and anger, and you're going to have anxiety because you're not letting your true self come out. You try to free that true self from within that you buried in this imaginary bag, or maybe you put a ball and chain that's tied around your ankles, and you're just dragging these balls of chains with all the things you've done and all the bad things that have happened to you, and you're just scared to let that true self come out. So you created this phony image, like some people are happy all the time, to really cover up how they really feel, their insecurities and inadequacies and their anger that they really feel all the time, and they disguise it with happiness, and they are outgoing on the surface, but behind they're screaming and they're angry because of being abused and being put down so much by many people that they appear to be happy and calm, cool, and collected on the surface, but really they're not. On the inside, they're very violent and very angered, and eventually sometimes that lashes out on people. Like sometimes you can be calm and insensitive and be really mean and laugh at people even when you don't agree with something when you're supposed to be their friend. And you act like you're real nice and happy, but really it's just a facade, because really underneath you're really angry and hateful and mad at a lot of things because you let it build up in that bag that we talked about, or that ball that's dragging around behind you. And then you take it out on people who really are your friends, and then you cost your friendship because of that. And you do things like tell secrets to other people who you say you're not telling it to. And then you say, well, if you're going to use me as an scapegoat, or use, the other person as a scapegoat, it's not going to stop it. So it's like you told on yourself, because you were telling them secrets all along, when yet you lied and said you weren't. And then some people, what they'll do is they'll lash out by telling a lie altogether, and say, well, that person, they'll have strange behaviors because of that other self, that conflict that's within, that's trying to come out on the surface of the fake self that they portrayed. The real self is coming out, so they'll behave in different ways to manifest or outlash that behavior. And they'll say, well, I never was over that apartment complex with that girl across the hallway, talking to them in the parking lot. that guy's got psychotic issues, or that girl's got psychotic issues, saying things that never really happened. But the funny thing is, the neighbors saw the same person over here 4 other times talking to the lady across the hall from this person. So I guess the neighbors that saw her over here too must be psychotic too. I don't think so. If I saw her and 2 other people saw her 4 other times too, other than the day she came over in January and had a conversation, then I don't think they're psychotic. So, but see, that's the kind of behaviors you have because you have a lot of distrust issues. And so you'll come out and paint yourself being really nice, but yet you're really angry because you were neglected when you were a kid. And sadly to say, out of all the kids in the United States or around the world, I would say probably a good 1/4% out of all the population of all the children globally have been neglected. So what they do is they try to forge this phony self so they can feel better about themselves. But all they're doing is really deluding themselves or fooling themselves, because really that old self is going to want to come out. When you get into midlife, that's why they call it midlife crisis, because that's when your hair starts getting gray, and that's when you start getting wrinkles and you start having chins, and you start having things happening to your face and things and your body and your muscles sagging down and all that. Because that's partly what happens when you get in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, and this midlife crisis sets in, and it happens to all of us. One day it'll all happen. It will happen to you if you're around long enough. But the thing is, that old self will come out, and it may cause people to want to give up their marriages, or maybe just to stop doing what they're doing because they portray this role where they care for so many other people that they neglect the needs that they need. Like, it's good to help other people and be helpful. That's nothing wrong with that. But don't neglect the needs of yourself too, because you need to take care of yourself too. As other than just taking care of other people, don't neglect your needs, because if you neglect your needs, you won't live very long. So stay healthy. Tend to your needs too before you tend to the needs of others. And Jesus says to help others, but don't always be helpful, when you're neglecting your needs, because that's not going to help you in the long run, and you won't be blessed by that. So, think about this. Don't be fake. Don't have a fake self personality that you show around to everybody. Try to show, as your assignment, try to have the courage to show the real true person who you really are. Don't try to be phony anymore. If you're angry, go talk about it with people who you trust, like your uncle, maybe a counselor, maybe your parents, if you can talk to them, or maybe your girlfriends, or maybe your buddies that you hang around with, in school, and people who you're close to, who you can talk to. But, if you really need to talk to somebody, you know where I am. You can talk to me. I'm here, and I'm here for you. And I love you. I'm here for you. I know we've been through some things together, but we'll probably be through many more things together, down the road. And I hope I'm with you for the rest of my life when the time's right. You know who you are, girl. So, I love you very much. And that's, in spite of what happened, I do really love you. And I know you do love me too. I know you do. So just be the true self, and don't be scared, Just tell your parents how you feel and keep saying it. And I want to tell you also some other hints to help people, too, in general. And it might help you too, sweetie. When you go over anybody's house, if someone asks you a question about where you've been or why you're here, you don't have to answer anything. That does not mean you're guilty or that you're doing something wrong or that you're being a bad girl, just because you don't cooperate or answer their questions. Because you do have a right to not answer. That does not mean you did anything wrong. And it does not mean you're doing something wrong because you come over someone's house. It is, or go to see a friend, because that's not wrong to do that in the proper context. But when someone is accusing you of doing something wrong or making you feel, that's just manipulation. That's control. So that's what people do when they're in control. People have to feel like that's part of the fake self I'm talking about. They have to feel like they have to manipulate and control and dominate over people, because it helps them feel better, because really they're really angry and enraged and insecure with themselves. That's why they got to have control over you and over your siblings and over everybody else. See, and that's why your mother's the way she is, because she's very insecure and very distrusting. She doesn't have really much trust when it comes to people, and that's just the truth about your mother. And that's why she's so paranoid about a lot of things and overbearing and overprotective. It's not just because she loves you, it's because she's always been high-strung or high-wired. And so that's why she overreacts to a lot of things, and that's why I don't come over your house anymore. And that's why I don't see you all anymore, because your mother has blown this way out of proportion by talking to Barbara and talking to other people that don't even know me. And that's really crazy, or psychotic. You want to say what's psychotic? Psychiatric issues. That's a psychiatric issue right there. And then coming over here and saying that that didn't happen, that's also psychiatric too, because my neighbors saw her over here, on 4 or 5 different occasions after when they first met in October of last year. So, they're not psychiatric either. So, somebody's just not telling the truth, and it's not me. It's your mother. So, there's just, a lot of things that need to be said, but, I still love her and I forgive her. I do. Just like you truly forgave me, I forgave you, and I hope your mother will truly forgive me too. I hope Charlie will too, and I know you boys have too. I just really do love you all and miss you very much. So y'all hang in there, but I hope this helps people about self. Really show your true self. The sooner you do, new opportunities could open up to you. And you might have qualities and talents that you never thought you had because you suppressed them or hid them in that bag that we talked about, or put it in that ball that's tied around your imaginary around your ankles that's pulling you down. Untie, break those chains free. Open that bag and pull out the real self. And allow that to come out. And talk to people about things. Talk to me about things. You know where I'm at. You get over here somehow. And talk to me, because I love talking to you. I miss you very much, and I miss you boys too. Come on over. Talk to your mom and dad. Keep talking. Don't give up. Okay? All right, hang in there. I love you all, and I hope this helps other people. Michael Sills from New Hunter Church of Christ. Ciao, mate. Shalom. God bless.